Welcome back to Goliath. Today we're going to be talking about the cold chain asset tracking, which allows you to watch your cold or hot devices as they go around the city. Mike, what was the motivation for making this design?
Well, I think the motivation is people are asking for it. So asset tracking is probably the most requested thing with Goliath, and the topic rose to kind of like household prominence during the lockdown before we had vaccines. And as those vaccines started rolling out, people realized, oh, they have to be kept really, really cold the entire way from when they're manufactured till they are actually in someone's arm. And so how do you do that? And the thing is, that wasn't a new problem at the time. That's been around for decades, maybe centuries. And it is actually not a very hard problem to solve with IoT. IoT is kind of like the perfect thing for it.
Yeah, one thing I think about is the fact that we are doing this now on a smaller scale as well. So you think about asset tracking, maybe in a more generic sense, you might order from like an Uber Eats or a Grubhub and see, something get to your door. That's often done with the GPS in a phone though. And now we're talking about things that are on a smaller scale, maybe more individualized and normally in an embedded sense. We're doing this with an embedded controller that is also capable of talking over Cat-M1 or NB-IoT.
Yeah.
That then kind of changes some of the parameters of what you're doing then, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you think about like a pallet of food, like frozen food that's going somewhere, you want to make sure that that didn't like defrost at some point and then get refrozen. And so that's where the cold chain part of it comes in. So it's like being able to look up and prove every step of the way. And traditionally that's been done manually. So you would have someone walk over to a pallet of food and put a thermometer on it or use one of those thermometer guns and like write it down. You would have someone checking the temperature on a refrigerated trailer of the truck as it goes. And of course, in the grocery store, you'd have someone looking at the cold cases and writing down the data. Like I said before, that is perfect for IoT because sensor recorded data, those are like IoT things. Right. So we've taken a cellular modem, Nordic NRF 9160, and we've combined it with a GPS unit and a temperature, pressure, humidity sensor. If you've been following along with our previous reference designs, we love the Bosch BME 280 sensor for that.
That's right. And we also stuck a new screen on it as well. So this is what our joint design here. The Ostentis board makes it easy to showcase the actual latitude, longitude, all of the data that's coming off of this thing. Internal, it has the GPS unit, like you mentioned, and we can also display it on the front panel and then showcase it in a more summarized way as well.
Yeah, and I can show you what the data looks like coming in to Goliath. I have some readings from just a few weeks ago, filtering about one device here, and I've made it look nice. I'll show you what the raw data looks like, but I made it look nice so it's human readable here. If you're trying to debug your data, I've got latitude and longitude. I've got a temperature setting, a pressure setting, a humidity setting, and these are recorded in historical. We can also then take those and look them up through the REST API and actually see like what that path looked like, get a little historical data on what the last reported temperature was or what the temperature trends were along the way, and basically put it in a way that's very easily consumable, which is usually what your customers are going to want to see. As far as what's coming into the device itself, let's see if I go to this device and I look at my stream data for the last 30 days, you can see that we're sending this in just as, it can come in as JSON data or it can come in as CBOR data, which is a little bit more friendly for your bandwidth and your radio on time. But we unpack it onto the Goliath database in JSON format, so it's easy to work with and easy to get at. The other thing that I think is important to realize is if you have a pallet of food that's in a freezer somewhere and might not have great cellular connectivity, that doesn't put an end to this reference design. These can actually be cached readings. And so they'll just continue to cache it. We have settings for that. And so in this case, the seconds between each GPS reading. So you could say, oh, I only want a GPS reading, every 3 minutes. And then you could say, how often are you going to upload that to Goliath? We use a loop delay for that. In this case, we were running at 0, which means give me as many GPS readings as you can and uploading them every 5 seconds. Otherwise, you might want to upload them every 10 minutes, 10 hours, 10 days, whatever works for you.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I do like the kind of the looking at the singular packet you might be sending up from the device, and then thinking about how that kind of gets all strung together as well. So like this is a singular packet that one device sends up to the cloud, is then processed, and you can visualize it here. For me, it was always that mental leap of like, okay, but what now? How do I actually see that dot on a map? And that is the REST API, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and the interesting thing here is that we decided on doing a cold chain sensor just because that's one application, but really any sensor that you want to put on here. So for instance, if you have like micro mobility, let's say your company rents scooters and the scooters are powered by a battery, you could be sending battery reading data back, and you could have both the location of the scooter and its history of its battery being charged just by swapping out that sensor, which is very easy to do in the code.
Yeah, and I think that we will be seeing future designs on this YouTube channel and in our blog as well. That we actually think it's shockingly common that you'd want to add GPS in the other direction, right? So you'd want to attach GPS location to the thing you're doing, because so many things, especially in the the small battery constrained mobile type of things that are out in the world, that's when you really do want to know where that thing is as well. So adding asset tracking to some other generic function is kind of a different way to think about it.
Right. And, the goal here is to have a reference design that we can give to companies to get them to a proof of concept very quickly. And so being able to swap things out and tailor it to your needs is very important to us. I have on my desk here a different hardware version of the same thing that Chris was showing before, but this is using completely commodity hardware that you can order from DigiKey right now. We have an NRF 9160 development kit. There is an adapter shield for the microelectronica clickboards, and the two clickboards here are a U-Blox U-Blox GPS modem. It's actually GNSS, so it does like 5 of the different geolocation satellite networks, and then this is the temperature sensor. So you could take this, swap your sensor out if you wanted, or just start working from this and having it show to your boss or your client or whoever is the one that's making the decisions that you have everything you need. I'm just trying to turn it on here. I think the switch is in a different direction from another board. So when I do turn it on, one of the things that I think is really interesting about Goliath is the ability to kind of do some remote troubleshooting on your devices. And so we will be able to get connected here in just a minute. And it looks like I am already connected, and I can refresh my status here and it'll tell me connected a few seconds ago. But if I look at my streaming data, not seeing any data come in. And you might wonder, like, hey, why is my data not coming in? Well, you can go to the logs, look at the latest logs, and it says ignoring reading due to GPS delay seconds. So I'm actually did that setting before, and I said only take a GPS setting every 3 minutes. If I want to put that at 0, so it takes GPS settings as quickly as possible, we can go and look and see if we actually get a different message coming in. And now we're saying, oh, we're skipping our readings because we don't have a satellite fix. There's a lot of data here, and you can see that I'm logging in the debug level here. Once you're out in the field, you maybe don't want to send this back because it's going to cost on your cellular network. So you could compile it without debug messages. But one of the things that we like to do is use our remote procedure calls. And so I can actually call a set log level and tell it, what number of log levels. So I know that a 1 is an error log level. So I can say, only tell me when the error log levels are coming back. And if I go back and look at my logs, then they're not coming in as fast as they were before. And that's because it reset that log level so that we're not reporting the debug logs anymore. So you have a lot of control for making sure that the device in the field is working as you expect it.
Yeah, and one thing I did want to kind of just focus back in on as well. So Mike shows that thing on his desk. It's almost the exact same hardware that is in this box here. So really, it's just different form factor. This box is not commercially available, but like Mike said, all of the stuff shown in that on his desk is commercially available, and that's something where you can go and if you send us an email, we can send you the code for the asset tracking. We're happy to do that, and you can be up and running in less than a day with your own cold chain asset tracking, or more broadly, whatever you'd want to switch that into. You want to add asset tracking to other stuff.
Yeah, and Goliath has the dev tier, which gives you your first 50 devices free of charge. So you can get, one or 50 of these devices running up on your desk, try it out, make sure that it performs the way that you want your fleet to perform without having to set up a contract and start paying for those devices.
That's right. That's right. Where else can people find information about this project, Mike?
So there is a project page at projects.goliath.io that is going to go ahead and show all of our reference designs, including this one. It's got block diagrams. It talks about business use cases and, of course, the hardware that goes into them. If you want to sign up for Goliath, you can go to console.goliath.io. And, of course, there's lots of information on our industry pages at goliath.io.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for telling us about this, and we're looking forward to more asset tracking designs coming in the future.